I can hear me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Wednesday and it's Wellness Wednesday, and it is Shop Talk Hypnosis with Jenn Dodds. Jenn Dodds is here. And before I introduce Jenn, I'm going to first off say hello, Alex. Hello, Purple Princess. Hello, Diane. Hello, Stacy. Yes, you did make it on time. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here. So excited for you and the end of life conversations and reflections. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So it's Hypnosis Shop Talk. That's what we're doing tonight. Well, I'm actually poking at Jenn to be here, and we're going to torture her a little bit, but that's always my plan. Jenn and I met, oh my God, how many years ago? 2016? Yeah, roughly around there. I met Jenn through Coastal Academy. I had the privilege of being a part of kind of entwining myself into her family.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's kind of how it worked.
Yeah.
I kind of like Leslie and I became friends, and I got the honor and the pleasure of kind of meeting everybody in the family at one point or another. And Jenn and I have stayed in touch, and I've tortured her ever since. So everybody, this is Jenn Dodds. And Jenn, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
You just did. So yes, I am. Hi, Jen's. Yeah, it's the Jenn, we call it a Jenn party.
The Jenn party, right? This has happened more than once.
Yeah. Let's see. Leslie McIntosh, who was the founder of Coastal Academy, she was my stepmom, and she introduced me to hypnosis and all the fun and funky stuff that goes along with that. And I guess she sort of started my spiritual awakening, I would say, is responsible for that. It's been slow because I'm a foot dragger. Yeah. So, but then when she got sick in the end of 2016, 2017, and then passed away in 2017, the school, Coastal Academy, was just kind of left. What are we going to do with the school? So because I was so interested in hypnosis as it was, and I'd taken the course, it was kind of made sense, I guess. And I wasn't doing anything else with my life at the time. So why not take it over? So I took over the admin stuff, and then I've kind of tackled the instructing now.
She is, and she's a really good instructor. So those of you who don't know, I actually went to Coastal Academy, and the story about me walking in, not knowing exactly what I had gotten myself into, that I have told you guys over and over again. And I was like, if I'm going to make people cluck like chickens and hump chairs, you should keep my money. And I clearly talk about the wonderful soul who pointed at me and promptly, with, I'm sure, her finger wagging, because I couldn't see it at the time, but I felt it, told me to sit down. That was Leslie. Leslie was one of those kind of people who, I don't know if she ever knew how to take no for an answer, unless she said no.
Not well. Let's put it that way.
Not well. But she was also part of my spiritual awakening, and she really kind of kicked my butt into it, because during this course, oh my God, I think you kind of come into it not expecting it just to be something where you learn a lot of theory. You learn all these tools and these steps and these processes. Yet what they don't tell you until you're already sitting in the chair is that a lot of this, a good portion of this course is practical, where you're constantly either working at your craft or you're in the chair working on yourself. And you just meet these people and you're like, hi, I'm Jen. I'm going to tell you my deep, dark secrets. And we're going to go on this amazing journey together. And I'm going to bawl my eyes out in front of you. But I don't know you. But hey, in like 3 days, we're going to be like besties.
Yeah. And it happens every single time. Every single time. Yeah.
Like it's one of those things that I don't even know if that wording and that kind of explanation does it justice when it comes to here you are with these perfect strangers. And all of a sudden you're in this place of not only learning and perfecting and adapting and growing with these tools and processes, but now you're going to actually have to work on yourself. So all of you.
Yeah, that's one of the side benefits of the course is the therapy. I've had people say that the course was worth the therapy alone, regardless of it actually being up as a career outside of class. The therapy alone was worth the money.
Watching the transformation. I mean, if you never when you experience the transformation that you create for yourself, like when you do hypnosis every day, let's be honest, guys, not only are you learning all the theory, but you're also, in the chair, you're practicing the tools and ideas, but you are discovering pieces of yourself that maybe you had ignored or you pushed down or you just didn't want to think about, but now you really do have to think about them. And I know out of the 3 people that graduated out of my class, only 2 of us are actually utilizing this. I know the one person, just the therapy was what that person individual needed. And that helped them find their next step in life. It actually opened up the door for them to find their actual calling. So this is but that month of intensity was exactly what this individual needed. So the therapy part of it is definitely, can you tell us about the therapy part of it? How that piece works? What kind of beautiful blossoming idea was it that, bringing the therapy in for the students that are not only learning the theory side of things, but the practical side of things? Yeah.
So the therapy, what's that?
What's your take on this?
So the therapy it's a huge, huge, huge part of the course itself, because you experience what it's like to be the client. So you not only, you're not, you're not, how do I explain it? You experience the therapy side of things as both the hypnotherapist and as the client, and both are equally as important. You learn so much as a client. Okay, what does this feel like, and how did that work? And okay, so what did the process do for me? Whereas the hypnotherapist who is practicing with their fellow students is just learning the process. But now then they can get feedback from the person who got the therapy. So this is what happened to me while we were working on the process. So, I don't know. I mean, there's so many aspects of the therapy. I've seen so many profound, absolutely unbelievably profound things happen in class, in an hour and a half. And people will talk about how from that moment forward, their life was changed. So, it's very interesting too, being the client, when you know the process, what's going on, what's supposed to be happening.
Except for I'm the pain in the ass. It's like, excuse me, you missed a spot.
Yeah. And like, just. Yeah.
Okay, so my first in the chair moment, maybe I should back this up. So the course is over, the intensified course is over 4 weeks. So your first week, you learn what they call the 8 steps, which is basically the bulk of the first part of the easy, like the progressive relaxation side of things. And then as the weeks go, we add in 15 steps, we add in interactive work, and we can get into all of that. But I remember my first like progressive relaxation. And I think I'm pretty sure my mouth was open. I think I was like, that's how
Yeah.
relaxed I got. And I actually didn't care. I'm pretty sure I drooled. I'm pretty sure my fellow student was like, do you need a tissue? And I'm like, oh yeah, wait a minute. It was like the best 8-hour sleep that I had in half an hour. Because
Yeah, exactly.
I was just like, oh my God, this is great. I mean,
Yes.
that alone was worth everything. For those of you who struggle to sleep, learning how to hypnotize yourself and give yourself utilizing those 8 steps. I mean, oh yeah. That to me is like, it was one of those moments. I was like, oh my God, this is great. But I remember my first interactive, when you kind of think that, this might work, it might not work. You're kind of in that place where you really don't know what to expect. But all of a sudden you're in a past life or you're in a childhood memory. And it's not like it's like, you're like, oh, I'm thinking of this. You're there. It's very, very real. I remember that being the most shocking part because fortunately I didn't go to childhood. I went to a past life and it was like, where I was the bad guy in that life, total bad guy right here, not in this life, but in that life. And I actually remember having a pause moment of, oh my God, this actually works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then next thing I knew, I was off in the life and it was like, here we go. And, I'm a full regression person. I'm not a partial, which means I'm going to let Jenn explain the partial full regression because she's the instructor.
You're a partial instructor.
Yeah, I know.
Full and partial regression. So some people experience regression as if they are reliving. They are in the moment. They are reliving that situation, seeing through their eyes, their younger self's eyes. And and then there's me, more like me, where the partial regression is where I'm sort of observing the situation from, stepping back, and I can see myself. I can see what's going on. I'm not necessarily looking through the eyes. I kind of go back and forth. But so you experience the regression fully both ways. You know what's going on. You're feeling the emotions. You're feeling the experience. You know the details. You know the specifics. But sometimes you are seeing through the eyes, and sometimes you are observing. Does that make sense?
Do you feel that one is better than the other?
Nope. It's just because even if it is partial, even if you're not re-experiencing it, you know what has happened. You know what's going on. You know what the emotions are. You know what the situation is. You can give all the exact same details, but you just may not feel the emotional aspect of it quite as strongly.
You might not need the tissue like me, or the person running out of the chair because they're being chased by a dinosaur. That is a past life that I do have permission to talk about. And that one was an interesting one. So that moment when you're in that first one, do you remember your first like regression experience? Do you remember what it felt like? Like, did you have that moment like I had where you're like, oh my God, this really works? I'm really, well, I have changed genders. Just saying.
You what?
Well, my second one, I was a man. I was like, oh my God, I am not a woman anymore. Whew.
I've been male in my past lives more often than I've been female, honestly. But it might explain some things about me today, but we won't get into that right now.
That's a whole other
But Leslie had been hypnotizing me for years. And even, you know what? She took me to a hypnotherapist up in Sherwood Park when she and Dad were living in Edmonton. And very first time I'd ever been hypnotized. This was before she became a hypnotherapist. And I went into a past life the very, very first time I ever had a session. And I think I was like, I talked about it for days because what was that? What just happened? When I knew feelings, the details, the smells, everything about it. And how was that possible?
Right. Like it is. If you guys have not experienced a past life or a regression kind of thing, honestly, even if you don't want to do the therapy side of it, the experience of just for the entertainment value of it, to
Mm,
see, feel, and reconnect with that piece of you that once was once upon a time. Like this is your once upon a time story. If we should start all when we record that book, it's gonna be once upon a time when blah blah blah. Because
yes.
it's an interesting sensation reliving something that you have
Mm,
maybe depending on your belief system that you've already really lived or you're living simultaneously depending on where you
yep.
are, whether time
Yeah.
is linear, time is all simultaneously happening all at once. But just to have
Mhm.
that moment, it's pretty profound because you realize how limitless, I believe, how limitless you truly are once you can tap
Yeah.
into this. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I feel like that is the coolest thing about hypnotherapy is it begins to, in my opinion, awaken the understanding and the knowingness that you are and can be truly limitless if you so
Mhm.
choose. And I
Yeah.
say if you so choose because the choosing is the biggest part. So,
Yeah.
how has hypnotherapy and hypnosis changed your life?
Mhm. In so many ways. I mean, it it from a personal perspective, my story, if you will, uh, I guess the the big thing hypnosis has done for me is really helped me with depression. Um, I'm gonna try really hard not to get emotional here. Um,
I got you.
but
You're good. This is a safe place to be emotional. All these people watching, all the comments there are all positive. So they got you too.
so probably been technically clinically depressed for most of my adult life. Um, and probably even earlier, just not even realizing what was going on. Um, and medicated for most of it, honestly, being on antidepressants for most of my adult life. So I got to a point, um, thank you. I got to a point actually just a few years ago, and thanks, Karen. um, they heard, Karen knows the story. Um, but where was I? I got to a point a couple of years ago, like and I've been working on it over the years on depression and just self worth and all the things that kind of tie into depression,
Mhm.
confidence and that sort of thing. But one of the remaining pieces for me was the medication, and so many antidepressants have no exit plan. There is no exit strategy for antidepressants. And I'm not here to say antidepressants are evil, or I'm not talking about big pharma or anything like that. But the way that antidepressants are designed is for long-term use. That's just
Yeah.
the way it is. And but I got to this these feelings where I was like, I had feelings, and Zara, um, I had I had situations, I was doing stuff, I was experiencing things, and I'm like, "I should be feeling something here. I should
Mhm.
be feeling something." And so it was, that was the result of the hypnosis that I've done and the work that I've done with you in particular. I think you've been like my main go-to here. And,
Like, don't torture you. I'm just saying, she keeps coming back.
yeah, she swears at people in hypnosis, like,
I do. Only you, Jen.
at least me.
Only you.
But I got so I got to feeling like I should be feeling something here. And so I did call up my doctor and say what's going on, and she said there's usually two reasons for that. Either you are over medicated or you're under medicated.
Mm,
So I
yeah.
chose the over medicated route, and then we decreased it. But I'm still on this tiny little bit. left, and I think that is yes, we do love her, and we put up with it because we love her. Um,
True.
but I think that's the chemical dependency. You know, that's the my
Mhm.
body is used to chemicals now as opposed to I need an antidepressant. So, you know, it's been huge in that way because if I if I can help other people um, use hypnosis because it's you get to the root cause of things. You understand the reasons behind what you're doing and why you're doing them, and you know that is so helpful in my mind. You know, I've done the talk therapy before as well when it comes to depression, and yeah, still here, you know, still going back for talk therapy sessions and, you know, 10, 15, 20 sessions later, still doing it and haven't really changed much.
Yeah. I
And
think it's
and
about
and
finding that process, right? Your process.
yeah.
So as you went through this part of the journey where you were peeling back the layers of depression, was there a pinnacle moment for you where you saw, the teeter totter go from this side to this side, where you really was there? I mean, because you know my journey, and I had one like session that was a big impactful session. I mean, most of them are, but we've had a couple now, as you know, because you were there for them. Where you have the ones that stand out, the ones that you're like, okay, this was a TSN turning point for me. This session
Mm,
was a big one. Do you mind sharing that, or just you don't have to share all the details if you don't want to? But was there
yeah.
that moment for you where you kind of went, okay, we're now moving to the other side of this. Now I've kind of starting to hit the
Mm.
summit of my root cause and working through it.
I think that for me, because there were so many layers, there wasn't necessarily any one moment, but there were a series of moments of
Mhm.
like, oh, you get that, oh, right.
I like that. Oh,
um,
it's aha moment, guys. There it is.
yeah, yeah, that awareness that hits you with like, oh God, that just seems so obvious, all of a sudden, and um, but so a series of those as I peeled things back, and I think that's pretty common for some people too. You know, some people have like different or multiple feedback, um, multiple situations that that's so weird.
What, are you hearing yourself?
Yeah, I can hear myself after the
It's
fact.
because you don't have, like, if you had headsets on, it would stop that.
Oh, right. Okay.
I
I
don't have
think
them on either, so it happens. It's all good. Like, it's all good. We can't hear your feedback. That's the funny part.
oh, okay. Okay, I'll ignore it then. Um, yeah, so sometimes there are like this moment and this moment and this moment and this moment, and each one of them need to be touched on in order to fully get rid of all the stuff, you know.
When when you think about being in the chair, what is your favorite thing?
Mm, it's the awareness that that aha, that is my favorite thing. It's just the understanding, I guess. I mean, it's a wonderful experience. It can be addicting even, like we've had students who wait, I'd have to go and say, okay, you're not hypnotizing yourself, you're hypnotizing them. So this is this is a great question. I actually had that written down as something I wanted to talk about, to get
Look at
stuck
you.
in that moment, right? I had it written down.
I love this.
Um,
Look at
it's
your
just
intuition coming out. Hold on, everybody. We need to do a happy dance because this is like an aha moment. Jen's intuition.
yeah,
Hmm.
my intuition is really coming online this last little while. It's pretty awesome, and
That's pretty
and I'm
cool.
aware that it's activating. So yeah, to get stuck in hypnosis, you can't get stuck in hypnosis. Um,
Mhm.
so say you went into hypnosis, you went so deep that, you're not hearing anything, you're not seeing anything, you're not responding. That's fabulous. That's actually a bonus if you can get there. That is the sweetest place to be. It's just like
It
bliss.
is.
It's just there's nothing, there's no one, yeah, it's just bliss. Um, what happens naturally is that you spend as much time as you need there. Like if you did that, if you were my client and you went into that space and you weren't responding and I had the time allowance, I would just let you stay there for a while because it's resetting your subconscious mind. You're dropping down into delta, and your subconscious mind is like, yes, thank you. And I can be quiet for a while. Like everything could just be quiet
Like
for a
8
while.
hours in an hour.
Yeah, exactly. So I would leave you there, and what would happen naturally is that you you would come up out of that delta, that deep delta, slowly, slowly back up into theta, and eventually you would just pull yourself right back out of it. Um, that's that what we call it Esdale, and that's that deep, deep,
Mhm.
deep, beautiful space in hypnosis. Now, are you asking get stuck in a moment, like you'll get back to a moment of trauma, for instance? Is that a worry? Um, and there are people who definitely don't want to go back to trauma. Um, yeah.
So you
Right.
will, your subconscious mind will not allow you to access something that is purposely blocked. So your subconscious mind during this process is completely in control. And it's like, no, you don't need to go back there because you will only go back to places and spaces where you can heal from. Outside of that, you will not go to a place where you will be re-traumatized and you will not be able to heal from. Your subconscious mind won't allow to do that. Its true purpose is to protect you and give you everything you want, whether it's good or bad. Well, that's a whole other,
Yeah.
self-coaching kind of language that we can talk about. But if there is a memory blocked for your highest and greatest good, you will not be able to access it until you are ready on all levels to resolve it, to heal it, to move
Mhm.
forward from it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it. And and people go back to moments of trauma. Um, yes, to clean things up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I do this every day.
Yeah.
Constantly in the room. Constantly self-coaching, being like, yeah, you know what? That language isn't working for me. Scary up to your turn.
Yeah, exactly. We go back to moments of trauma in life all the time through hypnosis. Sometimes it is conscious, we're consciously aware of it, sometimes we're not. And as a client, going back to a moment of trauma, the hypnotherapist has skills to help you move through that, to help you um, deal with it, even help you step back from it and observe it. We talked about that full and partial regression.
Mhm.
If you're fully regressed, we can help you to step back to become partially regressed so that you're observing it. And you don't have to relive it. You've already lived it once. You don't have to
Feel it.
relive it, right? And our role as hypnotherapists is to help you work through that moment and leave with the emotional charge neutralized, completely neutralized. So
And
so there's really not a way to get stuck. Is that
see, this is why
hopefully
you
that
guys hear me say this all the time, that you got to find your person. You got to find the
yeah.
person that you resonate with and the person that you trust when you're going on these journeys with, because when you find your person, you're going to know that they have the tools and techniques and abilities and capability to, no matter where you go in that moment, where you end up, wherever your root, your origin is, that they're going to be able to support you so that you can get into that place where you discover what it is that you need to change your story, to change your emotional story and imprint from that moment.
Mhm.
And I know we've talked about this, and you guys hear me say this all the time on the show, is that you will, and there's Walker, welcome to the house. you guys know him. He was at the door earlier. You will have all the ability to, and you will know what you need in that moment to feel differently. And as you change your story, we're the guides. We guide you there. We get you that place, but really and truly, you're the one exactly what needs to be done.
Mhm.
You will
Subconscious
be able
mind
to
always.
do it in that moment. Nobody's going to tell you how to heal in that moment. You're going to tell us. And then you're going to
Yeah.
change and redefine that moment for you and how you feel about it, how it impacts you, how you carry it, how you absorbed it, how you have created from it, how it's created with you as you move forward. So
And for people who are thinking about hypnotherapy as a, yeah, exactly. We don't know. We don't know where we're going to end up. But for people who, yes, for people who are thinking about hypnosis as a career, hypnotherapy as a career, one of the things that I talk to the students about is that you don't have to have all the answers because your client does. Your client has all the answers. The subconscious mind knows exactly what it needs and what the client needs in order to move forward. So, um, we've got tools and techniques, but we guide our clients to wherever they need to go. When we're just the support. We're the support team, holding holding the holding the space. Essentially, that's what we do. We do a lot of holding space for clients.
And when you get to that moment, and this is I don't know about you, and I often get this in my chair when people are like, well, what if I'm back at a moment I'm not a good person? Or something went wrong and I don't want to share that with you. You won't
Yeah.
share it with us. You won't share it with your hypnotherapist. Because nobody can make you talk. Everything
Mhm.
you share in that chair is something you're choosing to share. And that's why choice is fully intact this entire time. Yes, you may
Yeah.
have given us permission to hypnotize you. Yes, you may have given yourself permission to go on the journey and be hypnotized. But at the end of the day, in the moment, you will decide at a unconscious level, conscious level, what you choose to share and talk about. You won't
Mhm.
just be verbal diarrhea. I mean, you might be, and most of the time I am, but there have been times where I'm like not saying a
You're
word.
Yeah. You're often quite stoic actually in hypnosis yourself.
Yeah, I think I'm so
Then you're
proud.
often channeling and doing all kinds of other stuff. So there's
I
multiple
often
things
say I
going on
think I
at any
talk a lot in hypnosis.
no.
Secrets out, guys. I only talk a lot here. But it feels like I'm like saying everything
Yeah.
important. But there has been one time, I actually remember one session where I went tight-lipped and I didn't want to share the moment. And
Mhm.
when I came out of hypnosis, I was really happy to share the moment. I don't even know why in that moment. I honestly couldn't tell you a valid reason, but I just didn't
Mhm.
feel like discussing it. But I knew when I needed to heal, and I just went
Mhm.
and did the process. And really all I needed was to cry, ugly cry my little ass off, which, and which is fine because I had never
Well,
cried over that moment. But
and
that was
that's
that moment.
yeah. And that's something that is really important to understand too, is sometimes we just need to go back to a moment. Um, we
You're
can't even go back
totally
to
in control and you know it.
um, sometimes we need to go back to a moment and express those emotions because we didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to. So think about somebody who, they had a parent who passed away and they were the person in their family who
Mhm.
was always the go-to person. They were the person who had to, or who organized and they didn't have time to grieve because they were busy wrangling the family and getting the arrangements made and so on and so forth. And so we take them back to the death of somebody important to them and they just grieve. They just release those emotions and they're good to go.
Yeah.
They're
Sometimes all it is that you need to cry. You need
yeah.
to get it out. And sometimes it's not. But
Yeah.
those moments can be for, like I said, that moment of crying where it was just
Yeah.
crying. That's all I actually couldn't have told you. I would have sworn up and down I've cried over that moment, over that abuse. multiple times, but I didn't realize as a child I refused to cry. That was the thing.
Yeah.
See, I refused to cry because I am, as my child self, thought that if I cried, I gave him power. So I was
Mhm.
really tight. I was like, you know what? F you, have a nice life. I'll prove to you that you did not win. So my proving to that person that they did not break me was to never shed a tear. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
older and I understand that crying is probably one of the most beautiful things you can do, because that is actually proving that they didn't, like, that he, releasing that, not carrying that. But it took me a long time to learn that. But in that moment, that's all I needed. So it's a profound thing when you go back.
Mhm.
What is your favorite part about hypnotherapy? Like, what is
Ooh.
your favorite part about being a hypnotherapist? Like, what you do,
Mm. Yeah. Um, I knew you were going to ask this question.
I know.
um,
I sent you a mental list over telepathy here. I was
um, it is never boring. Never, 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 never boring, right? Every single session is different. You're never going to get 2 sessions the same. So, and then how you manage the sessions can be incredibly creative. And, we can finish up a session and the client's like, how did you know to say this? Or how did you know that I needed to hear that? Or how did you know that this had to happen? And, it's just your intuition. And, pay attention to your intuition. Um, and that's, that, like I said, that's happening more and more for me. But the fluidity of a hypnosis session. We teach we teach parts, we teach age regression, we teach past life regression, we teach,
can you
te-
define all those?
yeah, yeah. So past life regression we've talked about. I'm thinking everybody's pretty clear on that. We go
Huh?
back to another lifetime, an alternate lifetime. It could be the future, it could be the past, it could be parallel. Alternate lifetime is what I prefer to think of it as, but it's kind of known as past life. Then we have age regression, which is going back in time in this lifetime. So, back to when you were 2 or 3 or 5 or 15. Um, and then we've got what's called parts, which is probably my favorite thing to do in hypnosis. And uh, just because it's just crazy. So parts is, I'll give you my little spiel. When I talk to a client, I'll talk about have you ever said, there's a part of me that thinks, it's nice and sunny out. I should really go for a walk. And I'd kind of like to go feel the sun on my face. But then I got this book here that I really need. I really want to finish. So there's a part of me that wants to read. There's a part of me that wants to go outside and have fun in the fresh air. We can actually talk to those specific parts. We can talk to that part that wants to go for that walk. We can talk to that part that
Mhm.
wants to sit on the couch and read the book. We can talk to that part of you. And so, we're made up of so many parts. There's so many parts of us, and they're responsible for all kinds of different things in our lives. And yeah, and there's no end number. There's no total number for each of it. We're not limited to 100 parts or anything like that. It can be,
I
you know.
never asked that question, but now I want to.
I know.
It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, we need to do a session. I need to ask her question.
yeah.
I need to be my guinea pig on this question. I've never even thought about asking how many parts of a whole are there?
There can't be a limit on it.
I
There
feel like
can't be.
I'd have my papas saying, how long is a piece of string? Because he used to say that all the time. Because when I was like, how long would this be? How long is a piece of string? I just wanted to smack him and be like, nobody knows it. I know there's no answer to this, but I want an answer. God, I'm writing that down. What are you doing Saturday? I need to know the answer to this.
Okay. um yeah, and so being that wants to do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
um so by having these techniques and knowing that these techniques, we can yeah, we
That's
can
the thing. Some are loud.
exactly, yeah, yeah. And so by going and talking to that other part that wants to do things, okay, what's holding you back from doing things? And oh well, it's this loudmouth here, and then we can pull these parts in together and talk to them, and we can
Renegotiate them.
yeah, understand where they're coming from. Why are they doing what they're doing? It's so amazing.
And it's
Yep.
funny, you think that you won't have these answers, but in hypnosis, because you're in the subconscious mind, those answers are almost like automatic, simultaneous, you
Yep.
know, and yeah, I personally do love parts therapy. It's one of my favorites. It's probably the one I leave with the most because not only do you go back to this life, but you go back to alternate past life, future life. You go to different universes and realms, people, and trust me, I've seen it all. But parts get you there.
Yeah. And weaving in and out of them. You know, you may start with an age regression, end up in a past life, and then there's something blocking in the past life. So you pull in a part, or there's a part that's blocking. So you deal with that part, and then you go back to finish the past life, and then you jump into an age. It sounds like a lot, but it's there's a flow. There is a flow to everything. And one of the things that I talk to the students about is just being flexible, allowing for that flow. Let it come. Know that you know how to do all these things, and it's just up to you to when you want to pull them in.
Yeah.
You know. So it's I think the creativity is kind of a wonderful thing. You know, I've got some great parts stories, you know, part session stories that are.
Are you allowed to share them?
Yeah.
Share a couple with us?
Yeah, so probably the one that I will remember till the very last day I die, till the day I die, probably even beyond that, is a client who wanted to balance her masculine and her feminine sides. So she felt that she was there was too much masculine, and that she was putting people off by being too aggressive. That was kind of her reason for coming. So she wanted to kind of balance these out. That's a really good part session because there's not really a lot of emotion behind that or anything. So we're going to talk to the part of her that represents her feminine side, the part of her that represents her masculine side, and see if we can't come to agreement with that. So we get in, talk to the the feminine part, and she's like, I just, I don't know. There's all this like spiky stuff around me. I can't move. It's just so, she had this soft, quiet voice, which is another thing that's really cool in parts, is that clients' voices change according to the part. Some are these gnarly old gruffy.
Facial expressions are lean.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'm pointing at myself. I know.
So then she, you know, just had this spiky stuff around her, and we weren't sure where that was coming from just yet, but she needed help to do what it is that she needed to do to express the feminine side. So, well, can we ask for some other parts to help support you? Yes, I know who I need, but they're way over there, and it's like a chasm. So the client is envisioning sort of like the Grand Canyon. You know, there's this chasm in between her and all these other parts that could help her. So what do we do here? How about we build a bridge? Let's build a bridge so that those parts can come. You can you know, interact with these other parts. Okay, great. So we call up this other part. And this part is, you know, like a Bob the Builder kind of guy. And so Bob the Builder comes in, it's not his name, but he comes in and he's like, yeah, I can build a bridge. No problem. I got my guys here. I got my tools. We'll get this done. So they build a bridge. Now she can communicate, they can come, but she's sending out the signal to get these support parts to come to help her, but the signal's not going through. Something is jamming the signal. So, oh, well, that's kind of weird. So the client is thinking of like a cell tower, but something's blocking the signal. So we get Bob the Builder. He can go up there and he can fix that. So he climbs up and he gets that signal out. So that's great. Okay, now she can communicate with her support parts. That's great. So now let's go talk to the masculine side. Masculine side is like, well, there's a wall between us. There's this big wall, and I can't get to her. It's been there forever, you know. And then so Bob the Builder comes along. Oh, sorry, I just thought it was supposed to be here. I can take that down for you. So Bob the Builder takes down this wall, and then the masculine part says, there's all this slimy stuff around me. I can't move because I'll, you know, it's just slimy and sticky and icky. And so we determined and discovered that there was another part that was creating the spikiness around the feminine side. and this sliminess around the masculine side. This is like, this is a part that was just trying to sabotage everything. This was,
Mhm.
who knows why this part ended up doing what it was doing. But now this bad part, um, I don't think it ever told me its name other than to just swear at me. Um,
This happens, guys. It's not, you take on, you embody these pieces and personalities of these tiny little parts of you that make the whole, and they come out in hypnosis. And it's quite profound to see you shift your mannerisms, your tones, your even your language, the way you speak will
mhm,
softly change while embodying and um, expressing that part.
yeah.
It's really quite profound.
So now this part has, oh, they know about me now. So it
Mm.
starts to run off. Now, wherever we are, wherever the client is, wherever space all these parts are showing up for, she can see this part running away. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, we got to wrangle this part back. And then I think I said wrangle, like, for some reason. I said, how about we get like a cowboy part to go and lasso that part? And so off this, she's like, he's riding away on his horse, and he's got this lasso, and he ropes this part down and drags him back behind the horse, back to wherever we were, wherever that was. And we send this part to the light because it's not helping anymore. And finally, now the masculine and the feminine can actually come together again. And it was one of the most beautiful moments I've ever seen in hypnosis. It was incredible. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And that was done all without even regressing the client to a moment in time, right? Because there was, so that's just,
Sometimes you don't need to go backwards. Sometimes you can do all of the work that you need to do to make those permanent, positive, abundant, lasting changes right then and there. Like
yeah.
I mean, I know when we're in school, we're taught to always follow back, but sometimes we can make those changes without ever having to go back to the origin of things because you are that powerful.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do personally with our client perspective. If they feel they have to go back, they
Yeah.
will go back. If they feel that they can make those changes right then and there, you're going to make those changes because in that subconscious level, without a shadow of a doubt that that's not working for you.
Mhm.
And now you have the power because those pieces of you are listening, they're communicating. You can see them, you are aware of them. And when that awareness comes into play, whether it's conscious or subconscious, in the subconscious, it's just like being conscious. It kind of is. You're in your super consciousness. You can decide. This is where your choice comes in. You can choose to keep or you can choose to shift. You can choose to release. You can choose to regrow a piece of you into something that is more in alignment with the version of you, the authentic you
Yeah.
that is unfolding before you.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's why I love this. Like this to me, like it is that magic moment. It's like watching you discover how limitless and powerful you truly are and
Mhm.
how you are no longer at the mercy of old programs,
Yeah.
of old experiences, of old limiting beliefs
Mhm.
and habits and actions and reactions. You're no longer there. They're no longer in control of you. They're no longer dictating you. You
Yeah.
get to dictate how you want to create yourself or recreate yourself.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Go
oh,
back to who you were supposed to be and who you've always been underneath all the
see me on a regular day. This is tone. This is like this is the magic. You guys want to be your alchemist. This is where you become your own true alchemist because
Mhm.
everything is fluid. Everything is a space of creation. I don't know about you guys, but when you think about your space of creation, when you tap into that, the only person putting a limit on that is you.
Mhm.
I still use the numbing of the hand to show you your creation space.
Yeah.
And I freaking love that. Like, I
Yeah.
know it, I don't use it to show me where you are because I see the halo of purple over people and I already
Great.
know you're there.
Yeah.
But I love that because when you get to that place where you take energy to thought to physical reality within a minute or less,
Mhm.
now know that anything you choose to change in that space, in that subconscious, that subconscious zone of self is and can be, if you choose, permanent and lasting.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's my favorite part of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what inspires me all the time to keep going, is just watching and getting to witness those who I get the chance to be a part of their journey unfold themselves into their light being. Like, we really download your light being during this process. You download the pieces of you into physical reality. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't get much better than that. But
yeah. So
then you can live that way for the rest of it. You're like, yes, got this.
Yeah. We talked about past lives and that sort of thing, but there are situations where people are uncomfortable with that, or they're just not sure whether that is in fact reality. And I think what you believe, and I tell this in the class as well, and what you believe is irrelevant. I choose to believe that I'm experiencing past lives when I'm the client. That's my personal belief. Because things are just, how do I come up with this stuff? Like, and
not creative, I swear.
Exactly. And the things that I've seen for clients, where there's just no way they could have known this stuff, but that's my personal belief. Subconscious mind is incredibly powerful and incredibly creative when it needs to be. So maybe it's just a story that your subconscious mind is presenting in order to help you heal.
Yeah, and that's the other avenue of this. You don't have to believe in past, present, alternate, future lives. This may be your one and only incarnation, and that's perfectly well, because if the narration of the moment allows you to create change, positive, abundant, permanent change in your life, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
It really is. I have a client who, when we go into these journeys, actually has like a control room. Her space, her subconscious space, is her control room.
Right.
And the amazing things that she does in this control room is, and she's not that she doesn't believe in past or alternate lives, but her control room is actually what dictates what parts and where we got to go. She sees a little path, and every path lights up, kind of like Tetris, and we go through this, and the creativity of it it's beautiful. But that's her creative way of looking at it. That is her control room. And if she's not in her control room, she's like, nope, I'm not there yet. She has to be in her control room in order for her to feel at ease when it comes to her process of creating change. So how you, and maybe it's just my experience, but my experience has been that everybody has their place. And when they get there, it's just, you get into this beautiful connection with yourself.
Yeah.
And what that connection looks like will be based on your belief systems, and it will honor your belief systems, because we're not here to break them. And I say this to everybody, I'm not here to change your point of view. I'm just here to help you find you.
Yeah.
So when you think about becoming a clinical hypnotherapist, or being a client of a clinical hypnotherapist, what is something you would advise somebody who's thinking about taking this journey?
As a client?
As a client, or becoming a clinical hypnotherapist? Both.
I think if you are thinking about becoming a clinical hypnotherapist, some things that are important, I would say, are your listening skills. You have to, yeah, you're right, Karen. So your listening skills have to be pretty good. You need to be cueing in. Your clients are giving you clues and cues and tips and the answers without them even knowing that they're giving you that information. So you have to be kind of alert and aware of what they're saying. Empathy. You have to be an empath, but you need to have empathy. I've seen people go through the course who are not empathetic people, and um, yeah, they're not hypnotherapists, because if you're not going to listen to your client, and if you're not going to follow your client, if you're not able to sort of understand what your client is doing and going through, um, from an emotional perspective, then it's not really it's not going to be your game. Um, as far as taking the course, it's heavy.
That's a nice way of putting. Wow, she's being nice. She's being nice.
This is, like I say this a lot. This is not a continuing education course.
No,
So
this is a full on. I mean, the hours that we put in the time of this course are 2 years worth of university.
do 220 hours, and that's and
Well,
that um, and that's just at the, that's what we certify at. You can do more. That's, includes practice time and case studies and all that kind of stuff. But you can probably put
be
in more.
prepared. Be prepared
Yeah.
to dive in and to really discover pieces and parts and layers of yourself while you are becoming, you are mastering, right?
Yeah.
The techniques and the process.
And you will be a different person from day one to the end of the class.
Oh, I was totally different. I thought that and that was only the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
Like,
only the beginning. That's right.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a life. It almost becomes like a lifestyle,
Well,
like
here we are. Here we are on a YouTube channel podcast talking about, hypnotherapy and
yeah.
hypnosis. And I mean, how many, I don't know if you're guilty of this because I'm completely guilty. And my dad calls me out on this all the time. And those of you who have seen my dad, whether in my Tuesday night classes, logging my mom on or, popping in on the chat here, he's like, stop psychoanalyzing me. Stop, because you start to see things, right? You start to see patterns, and it's really not hard to be like, hey, have you ever thought about this?
Mhm. I could help you with
The
that.
night out people.
Yeah.
Stop talking, Jen. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I have to do to myself.
Yeah. Yeah, and that leads to, yeah, I can help you with that, those kinds of statements, but free will.
Mm,
Free will is the ultimate in our human experience, and somebody doesn't want to change, they're not going to change.
no. And
And
if they're not making changes and they don't want to make changes, sometimes the first part you have to start at is when they're like, "I know, I really want this," and we'll start with the part that we call it the part of you that doesn't want to make the change. Like,
yeah,
there's so much you can do. You just have to be ready for it. You have to, even if you find obstacles and even if you find road bumps, because I found road bumps I am still discovering little pieces. I'm like, oh, how did I not see that one before? But
yeah,
I wasn't ready to. And when you're ready to, you will, and then you have choice. And your choice is either to stay the same or to evolve. I mean, always a choice. You do whichever one you want, as far as I'm like, you do you, but it's one of those things. But taking this course, if you choose to, know that you will be in the chair, you will be learning, you will be progressing, you will be out. There will be pieces of you that evolve so quickly, and then you'll find other pieces that, you're going to find out later that are like, hello, it's my turn.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll get to a point where, oh, okay, it's time to deal with this now. Right.
Or you'll have somebody like me poking at you.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
I saw the eye roll. I saw that. Jeez.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that out loud.
Right. That inside voice. I know. And the other thing is, you're going to lose your inside voice if you ever had one, because I had one and it was really good and now it sucks. Now it's got really loud. Now, as a client, if you were talking to somebody and they were thinking, if they were thinking about becoming a client of a hypnotherapist, what some advice that you could give them that would help guide them into finding the person or discovering a little more about it?
I would say if you are, just doing a Google search to hypnotherapist in your area, or, just hypnotherapist, because we're doing this on Zoom a lot now. So they don't have to be located near you, but vibing with them, making sure that you and whoever you're working with you've got some sort of connection with, that you um, are, you've got that vibe. Your rapport is good. Because if your rapport is not good, you're not going to let yourself be vulnerable in front of them. So if you have to interview a couple of them, do it. Pretty much everybody does a free discovery call, or what, there's many different names for it, but um, you know, take advantage of those calls. And if you feel uncomfortable about something, try somebody else. Don't give up on one person who doesn't quite fit with you. Doesn't feel like they fit. Um, Unfortunately, hypnosis isn't regulated in any way. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Regulation is, but that means that somebody can watch some videos on YouTube and call themselves a hypnotherapist. So do some research on who it is that you're going to consider working with. Have they gone to school? Research their school if they're advertising that. You know, do they have testimonials that you can see? That kind of thing. Like, do a little bit of research. Don't just grab the first name that pops up, if that makes sense. I don't know, Jen, what else would you suggest? Yep.
That is, you need to talk to them, and you need. I mean, everybody knows I do a free consult called Discovery Call, and the reason I do that is because it's not just for you; it's for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because as a hypnotherapist, as somebody who's going to help you guide, I want to make sure that I know I can work with you, and that we're going to connect. Because the truth is, I don't want to be your failure. If I'm not your person, and if I have a hesitation on this side of it, I will let you know right away. I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm your person, but I actually know who might be. And let me give you the information. And finding somebody like that, I believe, is truly the person, like, finding somebody who's open to knowing that if you're their person too, because I don't want to waste your money. I don't want to waste your time, and vice versa, because we're not helping each other out. And I believe in this modality so passionately that when you find your person, that's when you're going to discover things about you and how to do things, and how you're going to dive into it. Even if you do one session with somebody, you're like, you know what? If there's something you don't like about the session, talk to that person about it. You got to feel comfortable. Like, you know what? I do not like the staircase. I hate the staircase, because when I'm relaxing, I just want to do nothing. Right. But those are the things. And this is a discovery process. Your first couple of sessions are going to be you're going to be doing work, because, especially if you work with me, because we're going to swing for a fence every time, because I'm that type of person. But we got to figure out what it is that helps you get to that deep space where you're like, all right, I'm here. And you have to understand that you're molding this. As much as your hypnotherapist is guiding you, you're molding the process. And you have to feel comfortable and confident that you can share that with this person. Because if they're continuing to do something that you're like, well, that doesn't relax me, then actually doesn't. I don't like basements, and that's what I think of when I go down a staircase. You need to be, and you got to make sure and ask those questions. Ask questions. What is your process like? What is their tone of voice like? Here it is. If you don't like your hypnotherapist tone of voice, you're gonna not like that person. And it's not gonna work. Not because they're not because they're bad at their job. They could be the best in the world. But if their tone of voice hits that pitch where you're like, oh my God, how are you ever gonna relax? So when you're talking to them, take a moment to listen to them. What does their tone of voice do for you? Ask them to give you a little sample. So that you can see that tone of voice. You have a discovery call with me, and you know what my tone of voice is going to be like. If you've listened, this is why I do meditation Monday. So those of you who are there, so you get to experience that tone that I use to drop you into that space. It's so that you are familiar with me, because that's the best part of that. If you're familiar with me and feel safe, then I'm going to be able to guide you, because the tools are there. I already have those. But the person that you're working with, you got to feel safe with. And if after a couple sessions, you're like, yeah, this isn't working for me, then you know what, but you like the modality, move on, find somebody else, because that's okay. It's nothing, you have to know that you're in charge.
And it's no different than than finding anybody that you need to work with, whether it's
Mhm.
a doctor or a counselor or a banker or, anybody. If you don't feel comfortable with that person on whatever level, you're not going to give it your all, and you're not going to put in the effort. And
And
um,
ask yourself, how committed to you are you?
yeah,
Because there's no right way or wrong way or timeline on this.
hmm
And, not that you want to, I'm not saying that you want to spend 20 years doing this, but I mean, I'll do it for the next 20 years easily because I love this
easily.
stuff.
So, yeah.
But, what is your expectation and how do those expectations work? Are they going to hold you back? Like, we often get into this place where we expect to notice immediate change. But here's the one thing: you
Mhm.
will change, and sometimes you won't even notice that you have changed until one person goes, "Well, that's really different about you. You seem to be less competitive." And it could be 2 years down the road. You're like, "Oh my God, it actually worked." You have to be the idea that you will have profound changes, aha moments where you're like, "Oh my God," and you see the change instantly, immediately. Or some of
Mhm.
some of that change will come with progression because it takes a
Yeah.
while for that seed to blossom and thrive within your subconscious mind as you create new patterns, new belief systems, new neural pathways, and connections and habits. So that's
Mm.
the other thing is you have to understand the process that sometimes it's super immediate and sometimes it's a gradual thing that just happens and you're not even consciously aware of it until somebody points it out one day and you're like,
Yeah.
well, damn, that worked. And
Cool.
you have to be okay with that because it will go at its pace and it will show itself when you're ready and able to see it.
Mhm.
So that's the one thing I would tell everybody is that your change pace will be individual and unique to you.
Right.
I've had immediate permanent change and I've had slow growth change where like Jen's actually said, I'm like, no way. Damn it. I didn't even notice.
Yeah. Oh. Oh. Huh. Okay.
Yeah, like, well, moving on. That's already happened. Check mark.
Yeah.
High five. Good job.
Exactly.
And have
Oh,
fun
right.
with it, guys. It's supposed to be fun. So,
Yeah.
Jen, we're coming up to our hour, and I'm hoping you will agree to come on another time so we can shop talk again. But
Absolutely.
if you could leave everybody that is listening to this podcast here, what would you want to leave them with?
Um, I've got a class coming up.
There we go. You didn't know that one was coming, did you? You didn't write that one on your notebook. I have to pull tricks out of my hat every once in a while.
Oh, what would I leave people with? Um, I guess go for it. If
I like it.
if you're considering being a hypnotherapy client, do it. Try it. It's not going to hurt. It's one of the most gentle ways to create change for yourself. Um, it's not going to hurt. So yeah, go for it. And if you want to do interested in becoming a hypnotherapist, call me.
And you guys below is Coastal Academy's information, number and contact information. So thank you for being here, Jen. Thank you for
Anytime.
allowing me to poke at you. I do
Anytime.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
And
It wasn't
everyone, thank you.
it wasn't painful at all.
Oh, good. See, I told you it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And thank you, everybody who came to watch tonight. I super appreciate you. You know how grateful I am. Friday morning, we'll be here on the Dear Diary, Morning Coffee with Jen, basically where we're going to recap this entire week and come up with something new and fun. It's usually done on the spot, but you guys know how it is. We're going to have coffee together. And all of you have a wonderful week. And, if you're thinking about this process for your own self-evolution, sit back and give it a try. If that's
Yeah.
something you want to curious about, even if it's for entertainment, but you're like, I don't want to work on anything. I just want to know where I'm going to go.
Yep.
That is the possibility because there's always healing in that. No matter, and this is the other side of things that you often say out loud, but we say that out loud here is that even if you're coming to hypnotherapy for entertainment and you just want to go see where you go, there will be a healing process there because you will go somewhere where you can discover something and you will bring something forward, or you're going to release something that maybe you didn't even know was standing in your way. There is always therapy a part of this. So even if
Yeah.
it's just for fun. And
And it runs the gamut from, you know, stopping smoking to talking with your higher self to, you know, like it's so big and so vast. We can do anything in hypnosis.
Yeah, your limit is your imagination, guys. It really is. So thank you very much. I'll see you Friday morning. Jen, thank you for your time and space and your beautiful words, and talk to you guys soon. Cheers.